So we will just recap what we have seen previously, and then we will start again with the today's topic, that is extrapyramidal tract. Okay. So as if we have already discussed about descending pathway, why is it not changing? So this in previous classes we have learned about ascending tracts, which is mainly for the sensory information which is coming to the central nervous system, and descending tracts are important for the motor function. So for performing this motor work or motor activity or reflexes, there has to be some signal or stimulus from the central nervous system. So all of this tract will run from CNS to the spinal cord, and from spinal cord the different nerve fibers will be stimulating the different muscle. In that way it is also called as motor pathway. So these are the descending tracts. So we have seen what is the difference between upper motor neuron, lower motor neuron, and you can see a schematic diagram of how exactly this descending tract works with this diagram, which is from cortex. This upper motor neuron will end at the spinal cord, and from spinal cord there will be arousal of the lower motor neuron, which will end at the muscle. So this is the scheme of, and then we divide these tracts into corticospinal tract and subcortical tract. Corticospinal tract means which are arising from cerebral cortex and ending at the spinal cord, and subcortical tracts which are arising from the other nucleus than the cerebral cortex and which are ending at the spinal cord. So we have seen lateral and anterior corticospinal tract. Again, this is the scheme. You can see this diagram. So we have classified them into pyramidal or corticospinal tract and extrapyramidal. So we have seen about the pyramidal tract. Now in today's class we will look for the extrapyramidal tract. And why this pyramidal tracts are called as pyramidal tract? Because of the formation of a pyramid medulla oblongata. Okay, so you can see in green color there is a formation of a pyramidal structure. So it is just looking like a inverted pyramid. Okay, so we have discussed about this, all the corticospinal tract, anterior and lateral, how they there are direct, indirect, crossed and uncrossed. This pyramidal tracts are there. So we have seen also functions of the pyramidal tract. So basically they are important for the skilled voluntary movements. So they are important for the voluntary action. So you have to remember, pyramidal tracts are important for the skilled voluntary movements which are controlled, which are precise. They are important for the different superficial reflexes and all the things which we voluntarily work. So this pyramidal tract is important for the voluntary actions. So are you getting the things what I am saying? Yes, you are getting it or not? So what you have to remember? You have to remember that this pyramidal tract is important for voluntary movements or voluntary muscle activity. And then again we have seen that this anterior corticospinal tract or anterior pyramidal tract is important for more for the axial musculature, and lateral is for the distal limb musculature. Okay, so that also we have seen. Now why this extrapyramidal tracts are important? They are considered as a more older tracts than the pyramidal tract. So, and they mostly perform involuntary motor functions. So what are the main involuntary motor functions? They are important for maintenance of tone. So maintenance of tone of our body is an involuntary function most of the time, because if you are sitting, you don't have to see for whether voluntary, you don't have to do any voluntary action to maintain your tone, or you don't have to worry about maintenance of posture voluntarily and also equilibrium. So all the automatic movements, swinging of hands, maintenance of tone, posture, equilibrium, so all involuntary movements will be done by the extrapyramidal tract. So basic difference in pyramidal and extrapyramidal tract is the type of action. One performs voluntary action, another performs involuntary action. Okay. So alternate pathways for voluntary movement, head, neck and eye movement, which are mostly involuntary, and they are the seat for motor activities in lower animal, and these are the oldest tract. Okay. So this we have seen how they collaterate with the different collaterals of this corticospinal tract with the different nucleuses, okay, in midbrain and pons and medulla. Okay, you can see it collaterate with the cortex, basal ganglia, red nucleus, reticular fibers, reticular activating system, vestibular nucleus, in reticulo and vestibulo nucleus in cerebellum, olivary nucleus, and some pontine nucleus. So these are the collaterals of pyramidal tract. Okay. Now we will discuss about the extrapyramidal tract. Now this extrapyramidal tract, you can see these are these extrapyramidal tracts. This tract arises from other than the cortical nucleuses. Okay, so like you can see this superior colliculus in midbrain, this red nucleus, okay, this tectum, vestibular nucleus, reticular formation. So these are all the things from the midbrain and pons and medulla which give rises to this extrapyramidal tract fibers. Okay. Now you can see where they are ending. All of these fibers which is arising from this midbrain and pontine region, they form vestibulospinal tract. Here you can see tectospinal tract, rubrospinal tract and reticulospinal tract, and they are ending at the spinal cord. Okay, so mostly as they are the motor nucleuses or motor neurons, they arises from the different nucleuses at the central nervous system, and they are ending at the gray matter in the spinal cord. So we have seen gray matter, there is a ventral horn, there is a dorsal horn. So mostly you can see here they are ending at the ventral horn. So up to this is called as upper motor neuron, and from gray horn there will be lower motor neuron, which is arising from alpha and gamma motor neuron, and they will be stimulating to the different musculature or different muscles in our body. So this is the plan of extrapyramidal tract. Now physiologically we can divide this tract into type. One is called as medial and lateral pathway. So mostly medial pathway, they are important for motor commands and mostly subconscious command, that is you can say involuntary processing. Now lateral pathway basically controls muscle tone and movements of the distal muscles of the upper limb. Okay, so lateral pathway, if we divide this in two, in lateral pathway will control the movements of distal muscles of upper limb. Okay, and mostly this contains the fiber from rubrospinal tract. So the lateral pathway constitutes of rubrospinal tract, and medial pathway which constitutes of vestibulospinal tract, tectospinal tract and reticulospinal tract. So they primarily controls the gross movements of trunk and proximal limbs. Okay. So lateral pathway which is controlling the distal compartment, medial pathway is controlling the proximal limb and trunk of our body. And this lateral and medial pathway also have different fibers from the as anatomical origin of this different pathways. Now, so and how we can divide them into anatomical classification? You can see anatomical classification, they can be just like where from they are originating and where they are ending. So vestibulospinal tract, they originate from the vestibular nucleus and end at the spinal cord, and they mostly important for the maintenance of head movements. Okay, then reticulospinal tract, tectospinal tract, rubrospinal tract. Okay, so these are the basic extrapyramidal tracts which are important, and which reticulospinal tract is important for the maintenance of balance. Tectospinal or pontospinal tract is important for the this maintenance of head movements. Rubrospinal is important to control the flexure muscle. Okay, so this all of these tracts which we have considering as a descending tract, they are important for the motor functioning, and motor functioning is again either it may be voluntary or involuntary. So for voluntary function there is a pyramidal tract, for involuntary function there will be extrapyramidal tract. Okay, and now that functions are either there will be flexion or there will be extension, there will be maintenance of the posture, there will be maintenance of the tone, there will be maintenance of the balance, there will be maintenance of the equilibrium. So for all of these things we need this pyramidal and extrapyramidal system. And again for pyramidal things we have seen that it only controls the voluntary motor function, and rest of the thing like it has to be involuntary, maintain the posture, maintenance of your muscle tone, balancing our body, equilibrium while you are walking or while you are running, that all will be controlled by the extrapyramidal tract. Okay, so now you can see over here in this diagram we have divided them into motor descending pathways. Corticospinal tract, that is arises from the cerebral cortex, ends at the spinal cord, and then there will be lower motor neuron, and this pyramidal tracts are mostly voluntary. So one type is corticospinal tract which is anterior and lateral. In that also we have seen corticobulbar tract. So corticobulbar tract means they arises from the cortex and ends at the motor nuclei of cranial nerves. So different cranial nerves which are arising from the brainstem and pontine region. So that ends, that tract is ending there only. So that is also called as corticobulbar tract. And why they are called as pyramidal tract? Because they form pyramid at the medulla oblongata. Okay. Another one is extra pyramidal tract, which is important for the involuntary movements of body, and they consist of rubrospinal, pontine reticulospinal tract, medullary reticulospinal tract, lateral vestibular tract, and tectospinal tract. So these are the differentiation between the pyramidal and extra pyramidal tract. And now we will see in detail about this tract. Again, here you can see this extra pyramidal tract, as in we in pyramidal tract we have seen that mostly these fibers, or they origin from the cerebral cortex. Their fibers, main fibers are arising from the cerebral cortex, motor areas from the motor cortex, from the cerebral cortex. But here in extrapyramidal tracts, these are originate from the five nucleuses or the neuronal cells from basal ganglia, cerebellum, vestibular nucleus, and some sensory part of the cerebral cortex. So extrapyramidal tracts are arising from basal ganglia, cerebellum, vestibular nucleus, and sensory part of cerebral cortex. So now we will see first of that vestibulospinal tract. So first we will see, first tract will be vestibulospinal tract. Now in vestibulospinal tract you can see this diagram, where you can see this these are the central nervous system structure, where you can see this is midbrain, okay, and these are the, where you can see written over there VNC. You can see VNC, this region is medulla, okay. You can see on both right and left side VNC, that is a medullary region. Above medulla, that this blank region is pons, and above pons there will be, compare this structure above, from above downwards you can see this is midbrain, then this one is pons, and where it is written over VNC, VNC on both the side, that is medullary region, and on both sides of VNC you can see a wing like structure, that is cerebellum, okay. So you, and on downward direction you can see at the lowermost side there will be cut section of the spinal cord, and just on the right side of the cut section of the spinal cord there is a muscle tendon or muscle Golgi tendon organ, or it is a part of muscle, okay. So you got this diagram, or I have to repeat it again? Are you getting this diagram? So such diagrams will be continuously will be there till this class. You can see this, yes. So you have got this diagram, yes or no? Okay. So you can see from above downward, this above structure is midbrain. This is pons, and where it is written over VNC on right and left side, that is your you can say medulla oblongata, okay, or medullary region. So whenever you have to explain any of the tracts, we have already seen that you have to explain it in all this fashion, like the origin of that tract, what exactly are the stimuluses or the originating neurons, or what are the stimulus factor for that neurons, then how is the position and location of that tract, how the fibers are changing, and then how where this fibers neuronal fibers are terminating, what is the function of that tract, then lastly if there is any lesion to that tract, what will happen. Okay, so these are the things you have to in generally have to explain whenever you want to explain any type of tract or any type of pathway. Okay, so we will try to discuss this tracts in that manner only. So you can see that this vestibulospinal tract, it arises from vestibulonuclear complex. So with this VNC at medulla oblongata is also called as vestibulonuclear complex, and it has again four different nuclei. You can see superior nucleus, inferior nucleus, lateral nucleus, and medial nucleus. So this vestibulonucleus complex, that is VNC in medulla, you can see that have four different type of nucleuses, and this is the main region from which vestibulospinal tract arises. As the name suggests, it is from vestibular nuclear complex and it is ending at the spinal cord. So that is why it is called as vestibulospinal tract. Now vestibulonuclear complex has innervation or stimulation from, one is from fastigial nucleus, that is it is at the cerebellum. You can see the fastigial on left side, it is written over there, this fastigial nucleus in blue color, and the round is their nucleus, and the fibers from this fastigial nucleus stimulates the VNC on both the side, that ipsilaterally. So you can see right fastigial nucleus and left fastigial nucleus, which is one of the nucleuses or neuronal centers at the cerebellum. Okay, so this is wing like structure is cerebellum. Now again, this VNC also gets stimulation, or it gets stimulated from macula crista ampullaris, which is a, you can say it is a apparatus at the it is a vestibular apparatus. So it is an organ at the vestibular apparatus. So the and crista ampullaris, which is basically important for the acceleration, deceleration, movement and maintenance of the equilibrium at the ear. Okay, so from there are hair cells, and whenever there is a change in head position or whenever there is a movement of our body, so there is change in that macula and crista ampullaris, and that hair cell gets stimulated, and that neurons from that macula and crista ampullaris get stimulated, impulses will stimulate the VNC right side and on the left side. So you can see this VNC has stimulation from two basic neurons, that is one is from vestibular apparatus and another is from fastigial nucleus from the cerebellum. Okay, now we have also seen in previous classes that this cerebellum is important for the it has all proprioceptive information. Okay, it has all proprioceptive information. What is proprioceptive information means? It has map of location of all of the joints and muscles in our body. So cerebellum knows at what point or at what location or at which point in this environment or the three-dimensional environment your upper limb joints or lower limb joints or your thumb joints or your knee joints or your elbow joints where they are positioned. Okay, so because to have any voluntary action there is a need of knowing of this position of the joint. So this fastigial nucleus is important in giving information to the vestibulonuclear complex regarding the position of different joints and body parts. Okay, and what this macula cristaampular is doing, it is sending the information regarding the movements or acceleration, deceleration of our body. Okay, so these are the two basic stimulus to the this vestibulonucleus complex. Now you can see this vestibulonucleus complex, you can see in this diagram vestibulonucleus complex which has again 4 smaller nucleuses. So there is this neurons from vestibulonucleus complex from lateral and medial side to this different neurons arises from this medullary part, then they go down and then they lies at the anterior white matter of the spinal cord. You can see when they leave the medulla they form their tract within the spinal cord and they lies at the anterior portion or anterior part of the white matter. You can see they are lying at the anterior part of the white matter. Now again there are 2 types of vestibulospinal tract. One is called as medial vestibulospinal tract. You can see over here it is written over MVT. Yes,